Hey, good morning, guys. It is December 24th. I'm sitting on the floor. I'm in my makeshift office that has now been, this morning, disassembled. Minding my own business and trying to get things moved because I'm in the midst of one of the biggest transitions in my life. And my loving, um, sensitive, sweet wife texts me 12:24. That's all she says. 12:24, which is her way of saying, um, "Do your devotional." So I was gonna skip it, and I'm glad I didn't. So here we are. It's Colossians 3, which is one of my favorite of all the chapters in the Bible. Which Colossians 3 is one of my favorite. I love the chapter 3 of the book of Colossians, and he's in Chambers says 3:3, Colossians 3:3, which is for you died. Which, if that was if this was a letter of encouragement, and you think, okay, how do I say something that's going to jazz people up and make them feel passionate and excited? I'm going to start with, for you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. And the last part of that is where the rubber meets the road, obviously, and that's the real. It's not just the kind of the yin to the yang, the balance of you died, but it's okay. You died, but your life is hidden in Christ. It is the you died, and that's a great thing, because now your life is hidden with Christ in God. And I think it's like you were a slave and now you've been set free. But to think, oh no, I'm no longer a slave, that's not where your head goes. And so to think that I died, we could say, oh no, I had to die. No, you got to die. You got to kill your flesh, and sacrifice all those things that were leading you to destruction. Anyway, all that said, that's just one verse of many in chapter 3 of Colossians that's really encouraging. But Chambers highlights a few things. He says, if we are born again, it is the easiest thing, and this sounds a little bit counter to what we're normally taught, but if we are born again, it's the easiest thing to live in right relationship to God, and the most difficult thing to go wrong. And here's the conditional statement: if only we will heed God's warnings and keep in the light. And so what he's saying is, it's a really difficult thing to live a life of being born again, but then not following in the light. That's hard. And you're in a constant state of struggle and conflict. But if you're born again, sorry, I'm just noticing someone outside. Oh, it's just traffic. Born again, and you stay in the light, then that's everything makes sense when you're there, and it's not this constant conflict of will when you've laid down your will. A little further down, he says, when you really see Jesus, I defy you to doubt him. When he says, let not your heart be troubled, if you see him, I defy you to trouble your mind. It is a moral responsibility to doubt. Sorry, it is a moral impossibility to doubt when he is there. That's an interesting point. It is a moral impossibility to doubt when he is there. And I think of the disciples when he was in the boat with them and the storm came and they doubted. And there was not just that one, but there's several examples of the disciples when they didn't really understand who he was. But we do. We understand. That was pre-crucifixion resurrection, right? That was before that's before Jesus had come out of the grave and conquered death. And I think we have the full picture of Jesus and his power. They did not. And so when we seeing Jesus, the one who conquered death and the grave, when we doubt, that is something that's, Chambers would say, is immoral for a Christian, for a believer. That is a that is a pulling down of the lordship of Jesus, of keeping him in his rightful place. And he ends with this: your life is hid with Christ in God. That phrase from Colossians 3:3. And the imperturbable peace, meaning unable to be disturbed, peace of Jesus Christ is imparted to you. So my encouragement is to live a life imperturbable, unoffendable, as our pastor said this past weekend. Not just unoffendable, but just unable to be rattled. And we can't be rattled if we truly live heeding God's warnings, Chambers says, and living in the light. You guys have an awesome day.